The next winter storm we are monitoring is set to affect areas farther to the south, and it appears we may see some higher than expected snowfall totals with this particular event. We will discuss precisely where that could occur as we proceed with our forecast. We are also watching another period of interest as we head into early next week, and we will provide you with all the detailed information we have on that. Afterward, we will take a closer look into the month of December to understand the developing weather pattern and why it favors more intrusions of cold air and opportunities for winter weather. Good evening to you on this Wednesday. I do hope you all are doing well and have had a wonderful week so far. If you find this information helpful, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And as always, if there is anything I can keep in my thoughts for you, please feel free to share in the comments section. Now, let us begin tonight's detailed forecast. We are also seeing moisture developing across the Midwest. This has prompted the issuance of special weather statements ahead of a band of snow for areas of Ohio, northern Kentucky, West Virginia, and the surrounding states. We could see some light snowfall accumulations from this system overnight. However, our primary focus is on the main storm. A snowstorm has been underway across Colorado, with heavy snow falling in the higher elevations of northern New Mexico. We are also seeing moisture beginning to move across the southern and central plains, including Kansas and the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. Additionally, Gulf moisture is being drawn northward into the southeastern sections of Texas and into Louisiana. So that provides the overall picture, but this specific area is our main focus for the next incoming storm system. Looking at our watches, warnings, and advisories, we do have winter weather advisories in effect for these purple-shaded regions. These are new for the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, including Amarillo and areas just to the west. We also have special weather statements issued for Oklahoma City, points west, and even south of Amarillo, down toward Lubbock, which call for some light snowfall accumulations. I am somewhat surprised that we have not yet seen similar statements issued for an area like Wichita Falls, which would connect these advisory boxes more cohesively. I do expect that we will see winter weather advisories issued for this region by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, winter storm warnings remain in effect for the southern Front Range of Colorado and northern New Mexico. And here are those special weather statements across the Ohio Valley and the Appalachian Mountains for some light overnight snowfall. Now, let us take a closer look at this main storm system, beginning with the timing. We will start around midnight tonight, and please note all times shown are Eastern Time. If you are in the Central Time Zone, simply subtract 1 hour. So, this is what we are expecting in the middle of the night tonight. We will see snow beginning to develop across western Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle. It is important to note that some of these banding features could produce some heavy snow, folks. You can see the Gulf moisture being drawn into the system from the south, and that will fuel this precipitation as we move forward. This is the scene around 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning. Notice the snow, particularly the darker blue corridors, which indicate heavier snowfall between Amarillo and Oklahoma City. This will be a narrow band, not a widespread winter storm, but locations directly under it could certainly receive 1 to 3 inches of accumulation. It appears Oklahoma City will begin to see snow around 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Advancing to about 7 to 8 o'clock, right around daybreak, we see this very narrow but rather intense line of snow. I would urge everyone in this path to be mindful, as its intensity could take some people by surprise. The main challenge is pinpointing exactly where this band will establish itself, but the air is certainly cold enough for snow. The only limiting factor is the amount of widespread moisture available. Moving forward to midday tomorrow, around the lunch hour, we will shift our focus farther to the east. You will notice this area of winter weather where the purple shading indicates sleet and the blue indicates snow. Even where you see green over the blue, conditions suggest it will most likely be falling as all snow. The forecast shows a wintry mix beginning to move into the Little Rock area. Some light snow will linger in Oklahoma, but a definite wintry mix is expected by midday tomorrow across central Arkansas. As we progress into tomorrow afternoon, the precipitation to the south, shown in green and yellow, will be all rain. However, on the far northern edge, it will be just cold enough for some snow in Memphis. A bit of sleet and snow is quite possible there tomorrow, with a higher likelihood just to the north of the city. Let us continue to track the storm as it moves farther east and northeast. Now, looking at around 10 o'clock tomorrow evening, we are seeing a significant wintry mix over Nashville. In fact, if this run of the high-resolution model is accurate, let's take a closer look. This indicates some moderate snow falling in the Nashville area tomorrow night, advancing the clock to about midnight, which is 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time on Friday. Notice the very dark blue shading. That signifies some heavy snow. It is possible that the Tri-Cities region of Tennessee could also start with some snow, as you can see right there in the Tennessee Valley. However, on the northern Cumberland Plateau, north of Knoxville, we could see some heavy, wet snow. For Nashville, the latest high-resolution model suggests a few hours of a wintry mix late tomorrow night. This heavy, wet snow extends all the way up to Beckley, while Bristol appears to be right on the dividing line. It will likely start as a wintry mix in western North Carolina, near Asheville. I believe a layer of warmer air moving in aloft will limit the snow potential in that specific area. Let's move our view closer and advance the timeline. This storm system has been trending faster, with precipitation arriving much quicker. Now, pausing the map here, folks, you can see it is snowing quite heavily, just a bit north of Hickory. For Charlotte and Greensboro, it appears to be all rain. However, it could start as snow in Greensboro. In fact, it could begin as rain, change over to heavy snow, and then transition back to rain. This is expected around 4 o'clock on Friday morning. We are seeing heavy sleet and snow, and those yellow corridors show heavy precipitation moving into the colder air. This is shaping up to be a quick-hitting snowstorm for Virginia. This includes Lynchburg, Roanoke, Danville, Charlottesville, Richmond, and Fredericksburg, where the snow could be coming down quite steadily. This system could deliver a solid initial burst of snow, so if you are an early riser on Friday morning, you may see some very large snowflakes. As we move forward to about 6 o'clock in the morning, the situation continues to evolve. By 7 o'clock in the morning, it is still snowing, including in Greensboro. If the high-resolution model is correct, that would be a nearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-hour period of snow there. While that duration seems a bit of an overestimation, I do believe this event will meet winter storm criteria. Although not a major winter storm, its intensity could certainly catch people off guard. This will be heavy snow at times. To recap the timing, as I know we are covering a large area, this map is for 6 o'clock on Friday morning. We still see some snow across eastern Kentucky and the southern half of West Virginia. I certainly hope our winter weather enthusiasts in Charleston are able to see some snowflakes from this system. I realize the main band appears to be tracking just to your south. To clarify the map, the purple colors represent sleet, and any pink shading you see indicates freezing rain. As we continue forward, the system begins to move up into the mid-Atlantic states. This next frame is for 9 to 10 o'clock on Friday morning. We see some light to moderate snow reaching as far north as the Washington, D.C. area. There may be some lingering snow in Beckley, perhaps extending as far south as the Tri-Cities region, but it appears the most consistent snow will be in southwestern Virginia and eastern Kentucky. This could bring an approximate 9-hour period of snow to Richmond. On our final forecast frame, the snow attempts to reach Wilmington, Philadelphia, and Trenton, so we will need to monitor how far north it ultimately tracks. This is the extent of our high-resolution model's range. And I do apologize if my volume increased during that last segment. I was simply compensating for some background noise to ensure you could hear me clearly. But now, let's review the projected snowfall totals. We will refresh the data to see if there have been any changes. The forecast calls for around 1 inch of snow in Amarillo, and it does show a very light dusting is possible in southwestern Oklahoma. Now, I would like to show you what the high-resolution model is projecting. It is forecasting 1.5 inches of snow for Amarillo and clearly shows those banding features. If you refer to the color legend, these particular shades represent 1 to 3 inches of snow. For Oklahoma City, this model is projecting nearly 1 inch of snow. It suggests 1 to 2 inches are possible just south of Oklahoma City. The exact placement of this band is still uncertain, but I do not expect it to reach as far south as the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We will have to monitor this closely. Now, the official National Weather Service forecast for Arkansas is not calling for any measurable snow. However, another forecast model indicates light snowfall accumulations are possible generally north of Little Rock toward Conway, amounting to a few tenths of an inch to perhaps half an inch. I believe this is a very realistic possibility, so I would not be surprised to receive reports of accumulating sleet or snow in parts of Arkansas tomorrow. The same holds true for Kentucky and Tennessee. The National Weather Service forecast is not calling for much at all, just a dusting in some locations, with perhaps a tenth of an inch in Clarksville. In contrast, the high-resolution model shows a more consistent dusting to a light coating of snow from just north of Memphis and Jackson, Tennessee, extending up toward Clarksville and Cookeville, south of the Somerset area, and it seems poised to leave a few inches of snow in southeastern Kentucky, really getting the snowfall started there. Johnson City, however, is only forecast to receive 1/10 of an inch, so the Tennessee Valley appears to be spared. I believe the southern Cumberland Plateau, down toward Chattanooga and the like, will simply be too warm for anything more than rain. For most, it is going to be a cold rain, but we will have to wait and see. Now, let's take a closer look at the latest snow forecast, and we will spend a little time on this. The current forecast for snow in Virginia, North Carolina, and West Virginia is shown here in the blue shaded area. I do hope you know which county you live in, as this map cannot list every single town, but for Roanoke right now, the models are calling for 1.5 inches of snow. Charlottesville is expecting about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. For Richmond, and I should add that this forecast only extends to 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, which is why we will look at more graphics. But for Richmond, between now and early Friday afternoon, nearly 1 inch of snow is in the forecast. It is a similar story for Danville, Greensboro, and Hickory, with just under 1/2 inch of snow expected. Now, I do believe some ice will be possible in these areas as well. This particular forecast is from the HR model, and it is projecting a significant amount of heavy snowfall for this region. In fact, it suggests 1/2 foot of snow could fall southwest of Roanoke in these pink-colored areas. For Danville, it projects 3 inches, and for Greensboro, 2 inches. Hickory could see 1.5 inches, while Richmond is forecast for 3 inches of snow. This model indicates that southwestern and southern Virginia could be hit hard with a heavy, wet snow. Some of you, particularly the more cautious folks, might look at this and say there is no way this will happen. To that, I would say, not so fast. I believe there is a genuine possibility that some of these higher totals could occur. This forecast only goes out to about 1 in the afternoon, on Friday as well. So, in some of these regions, particularly over here, it will still be snowing. Now, if we consult the official National Weather Service forecasts for their expected amounts, and let's refresh this to see if there are any updates. No, nothing new has come in. They are taking a cautious approach, forecasting around 1 inch of snow across most of these areas. Please feel free to pause the screen here if you need to take a closer look. Down in Clemens, as you can see at the bottom of your screen near the Winston-Salem area, they expect about 1/2 inch. Nothing too significant is forecast for this particular area. However, they are calling for some ice, my friends. A few hundredths of an inch of ice is possible in these areas, but not a great deal. Some spots could see 1/10 of an inch of ice. But I would like to take a moment to explain this initial burst of heavy snow. Alright, I want to show you what we call a sounding from an area just southwest of Roanoke in the southwestern part of Virginia. Now, where you see the blue, that indicates snow. Let's examine this. You can see it is 29 degrees at the surface. This red number here signifies 29 degrees Fahrenheit right at ground level. That green number shows 28, which is the dew point at 28 degrees. So, you can see the dew point is very close to the actual air temperature. This tells us that the atmosphere is completely full of moisture, or what we call fully saturated. For instance, if it is 42 degrees outside and the dew point is also 42 degrees, or very close, say 41.7, the air is simply loaded with moisture. That is the situation we expect in this part of southwest Virginia during the early morning hours on Friday. I believe this particular atmospheric reading was for around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday. A temperature of 29 degrees is certainly cold enough for snow to form and fall. Now, if you look at this blue line right here, that represents the 32-degree freezing line, starting from the surface and going up into the atmosphere. So, 29 degrees is well below 32 degrees, which is perfect for snow. Then, you can see a small bulge right here, what meteorologists call a warm nose, where the temperature briefly increases as you go higher. The further up this chart you go, the higher you are in the atmosphere. You see this 850 millibars mark? That is about 1 mile up in the air above where you are standing in this part of Virginia. This line here is about 500 millibars, which is roughly 18,000 feet high. As you can see, the dew points remain very close to the air temperature all the way up into the upper levels of the atmosphere. So, what I am trying to communicate is that the entire column of air, from the ground up, is more than cold enough for snow. Even that little warm nose I mentioned, it never gets above 32 degrees, so it cannot melt the snowflakes as they fall. The entire column of air is also extremely moist. We call this a saturated column. So, to summarize all of that technical information, the atmosphere is primed to release a great deal of snow. All the available moisture will fall as snow, which means we are likely to see those big, beautiful cotton ball snowflakes. It should be quite a sight. Similar to what we discussed in St. Louis about a week ago with that last storm system, I wanted to explain that because I think some people are in for a rather big surprise. When conditions are like this, some areas can receive an inch or two of snow in just an hour or an hour and a half. This means the storm can certainly produce more snow than the forecasts predict. As for which areas might get this surprise, I believe Virginia is the primary area to watch, along with certain parts of northwestern North Carolina. Now, this is the forecast for snowfall totals for eastern Virginia. Let us update this. Richmond is expecting around an inch, and Lynchburg is also at 1 inch. There is not a great deal of difference here, folks, along with just a few hundredths of an inch of freezing rain. And then we will move north to the Washington, D.C. area. The district is forecast to receive around an inch of snow, with a little bit of snow possible in the Tidewater and Delmarva regions, about an inch here and there. I do think there are some wild cards in this forecast, depending on whether we can draw more moisture into this region. The area is certainly cold enough for snow. The main question is if enough moisture will arrive. I also want to acknowledge my viewers up in Long Island and New York City. The models do suggest the possibility of some bands of snow reaching you, but right now, we are not expecting a major event by any means. I should also mention a light snow event for later tonight across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. This will likely leave a thin coating of snow across Illinois and Indiana, with a few tenths of an inch expected, and into Ohio as well. Let me show you that some areas could receive a half an inch of snow, with Cincinnati forecast to get around a half an inch. This will likely provide a fresh coating of white. If you have seen some snow melt over the past day or two, this will probably cover the ground again across Ohio. Now, as we move beyond this immediate time frame, we are still keeping a close watch on the end of the weekend and into early next week. You may recall the GFS model showed a significant snowstorm across the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Now, there is certainly energy present. We have energy diving in with a trough, and we have energy developing off the coast of the southeast. The models are trying to bring these two pieces together, and I do think we will see some snow falling in the same areas that are getting it over the next day or two, mainly in the southern and central Appalachian Mountains. There are signs that the energy might connect, but it just does not seem to happen in time. So, we are left with a mix of rain and snow on Monday, with a little snow in western North Carolina. But the GFS model has certainly backed off from its earlier forecast. Now, what about the latest European model? What is it showing? It seems we do not have the latest run from the European model. I am not sure what is happening here. That is quite unusual. There must be a technical issue with the 18Z model run because it is not appearing for me. Let me try a few things to refresh it. No, it appears there is an issue with that particular model run. So, I do not have that data. However, the 12Z run from the European model showed a rather aggressive-looking clipper system diving down. It has some energy on Sunday morning, but this looks to be just a chilly rain across the southeast. These areas of energy try to combine. You have one system off the coast of the Carolinas, and some energy diving down into the western slopes of the mountains, but generally, they do not connect. There simply is not enough cold air involved. So, as we get into Monday morning, we are just looking at a chilly rain down in Georgia and South Carolina, with nothing significant showing up. For now, we have seen the models back away from a major event, but we still do not know what that missing 18Z European model showed. The Canadian model and the Euro AI model have both been hinting at something, but at this moment, I am not treating it with a high degree of confidence. However, I do want to keep an eye out for a rain and snow mix late Sunday into Monday night across some of the same areas that are expecting winter weather this Friday. This map shows the signal for Friday's event, but as we move into that next period of interest, from Sunday into Monday, you can see the Euro Ensemble model is trying to show something here, hinting at the idea of a little snow in these areas. But I must say, it is not a strong signal at all. Now, looking past that time frame, are we seeing anything else on the horizon? I believe the overall weather pattern will be dominated by what we call clipper systems, which come from the northern jet stream. So let's start again for late this coming Saturday night. You can see this clipper diving in, and it could bring some heavier snowfall totals. Well, I should say it could bring some heavy snow, perhaps a few to several inches, across parts of the Midwest. But it might not, because this energy is moving so quickly. As we continue on, that system moves through, and then we get into Monday and Tuesday. Here is some more energy diving into the Great Lakes region and the upper Midwest. This will then move into the Northeast. This will provide some more snow and add to the seasonal totals. Then, a very aggressive area of energy dives down, and this one could bring some very cold air with it. It's a 989 millibar clipper system. Look at how heavy that snow appears in the darker blues. This system dives in, but it mainly impacts the Great Lakes region and the Northeast as we get into Thursday of next week. Then we have a large trough that digs down. It digs down deep. And frankly, who knows what will happen with that? We could get what is known as a northwest flow event, or we could have more energy sliding down this trough. But for now, it mostly looks like weather coming from the northern stream. Then, as we get all the way out to day 10 of the forecast, another clipper system dives in. So, the question is, are we going to be able to tap into any of that southern stream energy? Another way to look at this is just this large trough diving across the eastern United States. You can see the areas in blue and green here. This represents a trough, which is a dip in the jet stream over the eastern United States. And this pattern remains consistent through next week. As we get into the middle of next week, into next Thursday and Friday, we have another reinforcing trough that drops down. So, this area in blue is a trough of low pressure, which is a dip in the jet stream. It brings down colder air from the north and can generate energy in the atmosphere, whether that is a weak storm system, a strong one, or something in between. And at the same time, we have a ridge building over the western part of the country. So, cold air will continue to slide down into the eastern United States. This pattern continues until we see somewhat of a ridge showing up at the very end of the forecast period. But I do not believe this warm spell is going to last for very long. In fact, if we look further out in the European forecast model, it shows that ridge of high pressure breaking down, allowing a significant pool of cold air to reestablish itself in the higher latitudes. Now, regarding the energy we are tracking as we head into Monday morning, we can see a pocket of energy situated between the main northern jet stream and any southern stream energy. There is some energy digging southward, and this is what could bring an unexpected weather event early next week. After that system passes, it appears our main stream of energy will shift northward, but our primary flow continues to dive down from the north. Now, I will be keeping a close eye on the pattern as we move later into next week. If this system dives a little farther south, it could produce some interesting developments. For now, it is something to watch for late next week and into the following weekend. It is a signal of more energy moving farther south, and I can tell you that these reinforcing troughs will continue to bring in colder air. This pattern will be in place from tomorrow all the way through the 14th of December, which is a 10-day period. We expect the entire eastern half of the lower 48 states to experience below-average temperatures. On the forecast maps, the areas shaded in blue and green indicate these colder-than-normal conditions. For instance, if your average high temperature is normally 55 degrees, you may find that your daytime high temperatures only reach the upper 30s or 40s. It is helpful to know the average high for your specific location during this early December period. The cold air appears to be locked in place, although we are seeing some significant disagreements among the forecast models. For instance, the European model earlier this afternoon showed a significant Arctic blast moving across the eastern United States late next week and into the weekend. In contrast, the American GFS model shows a very different scenario, wanting to bring a great deal of warm air into the middle of the country. While it does show a small cold blast late next week, it then builds a very large ridge of high pressure, bringing well above average temperatures to the southern and eastern parts of the nation. So there is a great deal of disagreement toward the end of the forecast period. At the very end of its run, around the middle of the month, the model does bring in much colder air. For now, however, we are seeing what we call a windshield wiper effect between the different model solutions. The last topic I would like to cover with you is the MJO. We have been discussing this quite a bit recently. Phases 6, 5, and 4 are typically our warm phases. Phase 7 is considered a transitional phase, as is Phase 3. Phases 8, 1, and 2 are our colder, more wintry phases during the winter season. The question is, where are we now and where are we headed? Today is the 3rd of December, and if this chart is correct, we are now firmly in Phase 8, and we have moved into it very quickly over the past couple of days. The forecast shows us remaining there for the next few weeks. We might briefly slip into the center circle, which represents a low amplitude or weak phase. When that happens, the impact on our weather pattern is typically much less significant. However, that is not something we need to be concerned with just yet. Right now, we are in Phase 8, and we are forecast to remain in Phase 8 for what could be a record-breaking length of time. If that occurs, we should begin to see forecast models adjusting toward even colder and more wintry solutions for the central and eastern United States. I mentioned on social media earlier that I truly believe we will start to see some significant winter storms appearing in the model guidance over the next 7 days. We will certainly continue to monitor this. For now, we have a winter storm right in front of us to analyze, so we will keep working to understand the evolving pattern. God bless you all, and have a wonderful evening. I do want to mention that I feel my presentation has not been as fluid in the last couple of videos. When I get into a good rhythm of making 2 videos a day, I can sometimes find myself mixing up my words. For some reason, I have had a very difficult time beginning my videos lately. There are times I have to restart them 15 or even 20 times, which can take up 20 to 30 minutes just to get the introduction right. It has been a bit of a struggle with the introduction, and the more I have to restart, the more it can disrupt my flow for the rest of the video. Hopefully, I can get back into a better rhythm soon. This is something that has happened from time to time throughout my years on YouTube. It seems to come and go in waves. I will have 3 or 4 weeks where everything flows smoothly, and then I might have a few weeks where I find myself stumbling over my words a bit. If that has been a distraction for any of you, I do sincerely apologize. I hope to get into a good rhythm moving forward. Have a wonderful night, and we will talk again tomorrow morning. God bless,